There is no such thing as an easy road win in the NFL. The Dallas Cowboys, it took everything. It wasn't always pretty, but they do come out on top and improve to 4-2 on the 2023 season with a 20-17 win over the Los Angeles Chargers at SoFi Stadium. My goodness, it came all the way down to the wire. Brandon Aubrey kicking a field goal late in the fourth quarter. The Chargers get the ball back with 2.5 minutes left. They didn't have any timeouts. They did have the 2-minute warning. Well, the Dallas defense stepped up in a big way. Micah Parsons with a sack. Next play, Stephon Gilmore with a game-sealing interception. And the Cowboys get their fourth win of the campaign. Alongside Isaiah Stanback, Nate Newton, I'm Kyle Yeomans. Glad you're with us for the first word presented by Dr. Pepper. It's been a long week coming for the Dallas Cowboys. Not only did they have the extra day, but it felt like an eternity to get the bad taste out of their mouths after that loss to San Francisco. And this one took everything they had from all three phases. It wasn't perfect, but it got the job done.
It got the job done, and you looked at every aspect of the game. Most of everybody made contributions aside from the special teams, right? I like to say all three units. Special teams had a little there towards the end of the game, but offensively did a great job. Dak Prescott, okay, you 70% completion rate. You didn't turn the ball over, which was major. There's a lot of penalties. There's a lot of sacks. Okay, those are some things that you definitely have to clean up. But ultimately, when you needed to make the plays and work your team down the field, you were able to do so. Defensively, you made the plays when you needed it most. Your playmakers showed up. It doesn't matter how quiet they were through most of the game. You pay those guys the big money because when you need them to come through, they're the big difference makers.
Yeah, and I just think, our defense, they started kind of slow there. And like you said, at the end, but our big dogs came up, man, and they made the plays. Gilmore with the interception there at the end. Number 11, double ones. He made the sack there at the end. But what kind of bothered me, man, is just how long it took us to get going. After this, what we went through last week, I thought we would come out and be a little bit faster, a little bit quicker, a little bit more sharper. But they won the game, and that's what counts at the end of the day.
Let's start with the defensive side of things. 17 points allowed against former offensive coordinator Kellen Moore. It looked like early on they were doing a good job, the Chargers were, of spreading things out, keeping this defense off balance. But it was the pass rush that got back to doing what they did early in the season, keeping Justin Herbert uncomfortable behind the line of scrimmage. What did you see from the pass rush that allowed this defense to be successful?
Well, you just hit it. You hit it on the head. You talked about keeping him uncomfortable. One thing that you can't give Herbert is time, okay? If you give Herbert time, this dude is going to absolutely torch you sitting back there all day long. And a lot of people are going to watch this film and say, oh, guess what? Herbert was just off. He had an off game. Well, the reason why he was off is because he had happy feet. How do you get happy feet? Well, it's not because of the music that's playing. If the music is playing, it's because of the footwork that's coming from the defensive line. They kept pressure on him all night long. It didn't necessarily show up in the stat line in terms of sacks, but whenever the pressure stats come out, that's where you're going to see the big impact. And then obviously at the end of the game, you saw big number 11 show up in a big way.
I like that Osa played pretty big in this game. And you saw number 95, I can't call his name right now, I'm lost for names. But
Jonathan Hankins.
He played a very nice game. They kept the run to a minimum. They kept pressure on the kid. Like I say, it wasn't a bunch of sacks, but it kept him with the happy feet. They kept pressure on him. And Marquise Bell, man, you played your behind off, bro.
Yeah, and it was a number of players like that. Jonathan Hankins, Osa Odighizuwa. The pressure really started on the interior, and then the edge guys followed. DeMarcus Lawrence made multiple plays that either kept touchdowns off the board or at least put Justin Herbert in a situation to throw the ball in a bit of a hurry. So for the most part, defense did their job. You talked about the efficiency, though, of Dak Prescott. He did a nice job. You talk about a rebound. This is his first win in 7 tries after 3 takeaways the week before. So he was 0-6 coming into this game, now 1-6. What did he do better this week than he did against San Francisco?
He just didn't make the bad decisions. People are going to look at it, and I'm going to look at it too, and say he held on to the ball too long. There are plenty of plays where I wish he would have just threw the ball out of bounds, but guess what? He took the sack. And when you take a sack, one thing that's positive about that is as long as you don't fumble on that sack, you live to play another down. And previously, what we saw last week is Dak was trying to force it. I'd rather you take a sack than to force the ball and create a turnover. So that's the decision. That's how he grew from last week to this week. Still too many sacks in the column, okay, but they'll get that cleaned up. But he didn't compound one problem by going ahead and trying to force something else down the field.
When he played instinctive football, I think what he didn't do this time, it was held the ball just repeatedly, pump, pump, pump. He got out and he ran the ball. He moved around. He got, an 18-yard touchdown. When Dak becomes a football player, and I hate to say this because I know this is your quarterback and you don't want him to run the ball, but when he do it in an instinctive way to keep the chains moving, this is our best option of Dak. This is when he's at his best. See, that's why he was able to overcome the last week 3 turnovers. Mm-hmm. This is the best version of Dak you will see if he just be an instinctive football player and not just sit back there and pat and hold the ball.
But it doesn't just take running the football to open up Dak Prescott. It's a little bit more layered than that to get back to that same just football games time mentality. I mean, what did you see from Dak in that sense outside of just running the ball that allowed him to play instinctively?
Coach McCarthy got in his bag a little bit.
Play call.
Yeah, Coach, the play calling came into it. We talked about how you can't just line up, right? This is the 6th week of the NFL. These defensive coordinators get paid multi-millions of dollars to be able to figure out exactly what you're doing. So if you're just lining up, you're making their job entirely too easy. So like the rest of the top 5 offenses in the NFL, you started moving your guys around. You started finding ways to get CD into different matchups. You started winning the leverage game before the balls even snapped. Brandon Cooks got involved, right? Your best route runner. So you started finding ways to get other guys involved and get them lined up to be able to have success. And that ultimately is what panned out for them to have success on the offensive side of the ball.
You know, just let him move around. I mean, when Dak came in as a rookie, his first 4 or 5 years, he moved around. They allowed him to roll out. They allowed him to do naked boots, you know, just to drop back and ask him to read a whole field. That is not his strong suit. I'm not saying he can't do it, but when you ask him to move around and then you move around his best player, CeeDee Lamb, for 117 yards today, big play after big play, big third down after big third down, he's going to get his confidence. He's going to be that guy that we like to see.
Yeah, it really was an impressive day for Dak, 272 yards through the air. He was also the team's leading rusher. I think that's probably the one knock outside of maybe red zone again. We could talk about red zone inefficiencies at some point, but it was really the run game never got off the ground for the offense specifically.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about our run game, but how about the defense? Kudos to the doggone defense, okay? You talk about the negating the ability for our offense to be able to come in and be equally yoked. They took away the running. They took away the running.
Equally
attack.
Yoked. That's the word of the day from Isaiah Stanback.
I mean, they had 23 rushing attempts for 53 yards, 2.3 yard average. You want to talk about the best player, one of the best running backs in the game, okay? Austin Eckler, 14 attempts for 27 yards. They completely shut down the running game of the Chargers, and because of that, you were able to put your guys in position to do what they do best, and that's rush the passer. And when you can take away one aspect of an entire offense and just limit them to the throwing ability, I don't care how many weapons they have, I don't care how good their quarterback is. Most of these quarterbacks in the league pressure burst pipes, and that's exactly what happened with Herbert tonight. He missed a ton of big plays. Guys were open, okay, and that's something Dan Quinn has to figure out. Guys were open, but guess what? Herbert did not feel safe enough or secure enough to set his feet and throw because of the pressure he was under.
And I mean, this is one big guy, 6'6", 230 pounds. He stands in the pocket with authority, but it just wasn't happening tonight. And we said in the pregame, take away Herbert first, then Austin Eckler. And they did just that right there. Now, Keenan Allen was running a little bit free in that backfield, but, hey, he couldn't get him the ball.
I mean, for the most part, the offense did their job. The defense, I thought, was fantastic. There's a lot of good to come out of this defense. Deron Bland had a nice day. Stephon Gilmore, of course, had the game-sealing interception. There were times when the defense had their gaps, but for the most part, the Cowboys didn't give up what they needed to. By the way, credit to Brandon Aubrey. 16 of 16. He hit a couple really crucial kicks, including the game winner down the stretch. Now, it is a long time until you'll get to see this Cowboys team. You go into the bye week. Then you come back, you face another West Coast team. You face the Los Angeles Rams coming up in Week 8. What's the mindset for this football team going into the week off in order to enable that you continue this momentum and get right back into the winning string of things in Week 8?
Don't harp on the win. I would say don't just sit up there and look at what you did in a positive light. I want you to go back and figure out what you did bad. I want you to go back and look at the opportunities that the Chargers missed and make sure that those things don't show back up on the next opponent. Because you can best believe, obviously McVay down there in L.A. is going to be looking and saying, okay, guess what? They missed on this. They had an opportunity right here. Okay, if we run this, we could probably get the same look. Don't do it. Go back, address it, hit it in the mouth. Get a little pat on the back, okay? Pat him on the back, and then say, guess what? All right, that play is done. I need you to go and fix this issue, because if you don't, history will repeat itself, and next time you might not be so lucky on some of those missed opportunities.
You got to ask yourself, each individual player, are you where you want to be? Are you on the right path to where you need to be? And if not, make sure you watch a little extra film I'm not saying don't get you a vacation, but don't take one as long. Get in there, get in that film room, do what you have to do, make sure you're healthy. And you know what? It's a lot of things you do during the off week. Don't be news, okay? Don't be the social media.
Sure.
I like that. That's a good message from Nate Newton. Don't be the news, Dallas Cowboys. The only news you want is a big win. By the way, the Rams got a big win against the Cardinals this week, 26-9. They'll play Pittsburgh next week, so you get a chance to see your upcoming opponent in the middle of your bye week as well. So hopefully that extra week of preparation will work things out for this Cowboys team as they come out on top in Week 6. 20-17, the final score, the Cowboys over the Chargers. Same exact score, by the way, as the last time the Cowboys played the Chargers at SoFi Stadium back in 2021. 2017, the final score. Cowboys get the win. They improve to 4-2 going into the bye week. We have more Cowboys post-game coverage coming up your way here from the Star in Frisco. Cowboys game night getting underway at 11 p.m. Central Time. For Isaiah Stanback, Nate Newton, I'm Kyle Yeomans. That does it for the First Word presented by Dr. Pepper.